sometimes it is big leaves to cover the body, like that. So in that time, people used to live in caves, as I said. We call it Stone Age. So when people used to live in caves at that time also, these fine arts were there. Mathematics was not there, physics were. I mean, in nature, we might be finding same physics, whatever we find now, 1,000 years ago, 40,000 years ago, 50,000 years ago. But men, I would say humans, they don't have knowledge of these things in the form of physics, chemistry, botany, zoology. But fine arts are there from the beginning. Why? Because whatever has come to their mind, they have shown it in different ways, in different forms. The basic thing is, for example, students, one minute, madam, తిరుమల మేడం నాకు వినబడుతుంది స్పీకర్లో హెడ్ ఫోన్స్ మీరు పెట్టుకున్నారు కానీ అది లేదు స్పీకర్ కొంచెం తక్కువ అయ్యారా నాకు కూడా వినబడుతుంది మీరు స్పీకర్లో పెట్టుకున్నట్టున్నారు నాకు కూడా వినబడుతుంది అది అంటున్నా నో స్టూడెంట్స్ సో what was I telling you? Yeah, I was discussing this painting. So whatever the caveman బయటికి వినబడుతుంది మేడం స్టిల్ ఇప్పుడు ఓకే యా సో yeah, whatever was their observation, that means the flora and fauna, the nature, the animals, different types of animals that they observed, the other family members or other human beings, they have observed all those things, and whatever they observed, they have tried to show it in the form of paintings. I'll show you a few of the oldest paintings, 40,000-year-old paintings. In those days, as I said, men were living like animals, but they have observed it, and their the self awareness and their intellectual capacity, which made themselves and say these humans distinct from other animals, has given rise to these uh, fine arts. So let me show you one. Yeah, you see this? Is my screen visible to all students?
Yes, sir.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So these are, it's still uh, not opening. I say the image I wanted to show you. These are the images, but it's not opening. Yeah. Now I think you can see. This one. You see, it's an elephant. Somebody sitting on an elephant. These are people on horses with some kinds of weapons in hands. And there are many more images. So these were almost 40,000-year-old images. Those people who have seen this is another one. People are fighting with each other. You see, he's holding a sword or something in his hand, then something to protect himself. This is to attack, this is to protect. And somebody, it seems it's his pet dog, I think. Okay, so different things are there. So this is another somebody taking a horse along with him. So you see, he tied this horse with this rope, and this rope is in his hands. He's carrying it. So like this, whatever they have observed, they have shown it in the form of pictures. So it's a 40,000 almost year old rock painting. You see, this is a big rock, and on this rock, They have painted all these things. All these paintings are on rocks only. That too in caves. This is another one. This is another. Okay. So there are many. I'll show you the Bhimbetka caves also. Yeah, this is Bhimbetka cave. These are the caves. So the people who lived in caves, knowingly or unknowingly, they have created some paintings. I don't know whether they knew it or not, but they have shown as to how the things were in their time period, how the animals were. So this is how the enthusiasm of the people have started to depict and share those things whatever they are seeing to others. For example, somebody has seen a new animal, and if he wants to share this information with his family members, how can he explain them whatever he has seen in words? So he can use this kind of paintings and paint that animal or that scenery, and he can show it to others. So like that, the enthusiasm of human beings has led to this kind of inventions, paintings, other fine arts. So the fine arts that I'm talking about have developed along with the civilization. First, when the people were living in caves, then they have just, because of their enthusiasm, they have depicted many things on the walls or on rocks. But when people have become more and more civilized by the time of Indus Valley civilization, different types of fine arts have developed, like sculpture, architecture, constructing the buildings, various things for their convenience or which suits their requirements, are creating facilities for themselves. All such things have developed. But when it comes to early Vedic period again, you will not find much of these things. In early Vedic period, people's concentration was more on literature. They developed language. They have come up with various say new discoveries, and whatever they have discovered this, they have explained it in the form of hymns, which we know as Rigveda. So that's a different story. So, but before this Vedic period, we have this kind of fine arts, prehistoric period, that is in Stone Age and in Bronze Age and in Indus Valley civilization time. We have all these things, but these things can be seen very less in early Vedic period. But again, in latter Vedic period, when that latter Vedic period is marked with the existence of people like Gautama Buddha and Vardhamana Mahavira. So after the Gautama Buddha and Vardhamana Mahavira, again people have, those who wanted to share their religion or spread their religion. What they have done is they have each and every individual in his own way. They tried to spread the religion. How somebody went to some different places and preached the religion. Somebody uh, somebody went to different places and they what they have done is they have painted the images of Gautama Buddha and the previous births of Gautama Buddha. That's how they uh, try to spread the religion. Then somebody has they have uh, constructed temples. It's not construction actually. It's a kind of cutting the rock. Rock cut temples have been built. For example, Ajanta, Ellora, and that's how they wanted to spread their religion. So every individual has tried in his own way. Somebody has somebody has and so as I said, they have explained as to what the preachings are. Preachings of Gautam Buddha are just in this words. So yeah, somebody who was interested in explaining things, he knowingly or unknowingly he was contributing to the development of languages. somebody who was interested in explaining his ideas or spreading his beliefs in the form of writings, he was knowingly or unknowingly contributing to the development of scripts, various scripts of various languages. Then somebody who could not do these two things, that means somebody who couldn't teach, somebody who couldn't write, they were constructing one who can construct temples or sculpture and say carve sculptures from stone or from various other metals. They were doing these things. So because of this spread of religious beliefs has also led to the development of various fine arts like literature, sculpture, architecture, and all those things. So as I said, Bhimbetka caves are 40,000 years old caves. Are the paintings that are there, they are continuing for the past 40,000 years. So, but we don't know much of these things. We never get to learn much about these things. That's why we don't know what our fine arts are, right? So, so in this chapter, we are going to discuss what are the various fine arts, and we will be discussing about uh, few learned individuals as to what was their contribution in their own field. Somebody has contributed in mathematics, somebody has contributed in physics, somebody has contributed in mathematics, medicine, chemistry. So we'll also discuss all those things. So beginning with, as I said, let us first discuss painting. So the painting, as I said, is as old as the human civilization itself. So this painting has reached its heights during the reign of Mughals. I told you that this painting can be seen in Medieval Kings, which is 40,000 years old. It can be seen in Indus Valley civilization, which is approximately 5,000 years old. It can be seen in later Vedic period, which is approximately 3,000 years old. And we can see the development of these things, these and the various types of paintings in the during the medieval era, that is in the reign of Mughals, Muslim kings. Okay, there are variety of different types of paintings. How, for example, somebody has painted on hard surfaces like rocks, walls. Somebody paints on cloth. Somebody paints on uh, canvas or paper. So if we take that where the painting is done as a base, then we have different types of paintings. And in the same way, if we consider what is used for these paintings, for example, somebody in modern day we use chemicals. In olden days, people used to use different things like mud, cow dung. Some people used leaves, plant leaves. Somebody used bark for the plant barks. Then some people used the fruits, vegetables. Have you observed that if you touch, say, if you squeeze some kind of fruits, some different colors will come. For example, you take pomegranate. If you squeeze the grains, then what happens? You see pink color. Like that, different fruits or different leaves, different trees, barks of different trees give different colors, and people have observed it. For example, kunkuma, that is what we use, we Indians use in temples and other places. How do we get it? It's also naturally available. We take some roots of some trees and we dry it, then we make powder of it. That is used as kumkum. Chandan is also taken from and extracted things naturally. All these things have been used. If we take these things as base, then again we can say there are different types of paintings. And some paintings are huge and say we can see them clearly with naked eyes. Some paintings are done in such a way that they are very small, called miniature paintings. Some are used as decorative art forms. For example, um, you, you take Taj Mahal, different flowers, different kinds of fruits, all those things have been carved on Taj Mahal. That is for decoration. Okay, decorative art form is different. So depending on various what base is being considered, we can go for different types of fine arts. Or in painting itself, we have different types. I don't know whether you have seen Ajanta, you have heard about this Ajanta Ellora caves or not. But in Ajanta Ellora caves, which are at least 1500 to 1600 years old, 1500 years, 1600 years old, these caves, there are around 32 caves, but number 9, 10 are really famous. In these caves, the Jataka stories are the stories of Gautama Buddha, the previous births of Gautama Buddha. So these Jataka stories are shown with different paintings. Okay, you'll find sculpture, paintings in these caves, which is what I'm trying to say is from time immemorial, or we can say from prehistoric period, paintings are very well known to Indians, are the people who are living in India, or Indian subcontinent. And this fine art has seen its peaks, reached heights during the reign of Mughals. Okay, so let us discuss what is this painting. We have discussed what are the different materials that are used or different things. Like now let us see different types of paint. For example, Mithila painting or Mithali painting. What is Mithila Mithali painting? The name itself explains. Mithila is a place. Have you ever heard this name, Mithila?
Yes, sir.
Students, are you online? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
sir, you're
See,
You
online.
sir.
will get to hear this name in Ramayana. Yeah. So Mithila is a place, and in this place, people, the art form that they practice is really a different one. So this art form has got its name based on place, Mithila. So Mithali painting or Mithila painting, Maithili painting, Madhubani painting, all one and the same. So is a region in Bihar. Is Mithila is a region in Bihar. For example, make people understand. Have you ever seen any Rajasthani hut or a Rajasthani house? Okay. How many of you have visited Dolar Dhani, Hyderabad? Students, I am asking you.
Yes, sir, we'll
Don't
visit.
raise hands. Just unmute your mic and let me know. Yeah. So there is a different kind of decoration which is unique to Rajasthanis. In the same way, for example, if you go to dhabas, what do we call it? We generally call it Punjabi dhaba. Why? Because the cooking style of Punjabis is slightly different from others. In the same way, every region, every people belonging to different regions will have their own dressing style, their own cooking style, their own decorative art forms, and all those things. For example, Nirmal is very famous for wooden, what do you call it, dolls. So this Mithila is also a place wherein people practice a different kind of art, folk art. Okay, so generally the village women, they make these images using vegetable colors and few earthen colors. So they decorate, first of all, they decorate their houses with different what we call is rangoli. People basically decorate gesture. Okay, so this is practiced in two ways again. First of all, they used to treat the paper with cow dung, then it becomes a bit hard or thick. Then they use different colors to paint or to show different pictures. Generally, these pictures, what they draw, are related to Ramayana. There are pictures of Sita, Rama, or Rama along with Sita in forest, or Hanuman. All these are there. So different kinds of paintings are there. So as I said, it is practiced or it is unique in Mithila. But nowadays these paintings are, because of marketing facilities, they are available all over the world, not only in India, but they have got name and fame throughout the world. So Yeah, they are used as decorating things. People, the rich people generally buy them and they keep those pictures in halls or in drawing rooms, especially. So it's a kind of decorative art form which is actually unique to Mithila place, and the household women used to draw these things, and they used to use a paper which is treated with cow dung. Then on that paper they used to create images of gods. To be more specific, they were the images of Rama, right? Then comes Kalamkari painting. What is Kalamkari painting? Am I disturbing you now? Okay. So Kalamkari painting is another form of painting. What does it mean? The name itself explains. Kalamkari. Kalam is a Urdu word which means pen. These uh, painters use a pen-like thing to draw figures. Okay, that's why this painting, this art form, has got the name Kalankari. Okay, so generally these kind of fine arts are learned from their ancestors. For example, father teaches to son, or mother teaches to daughter, or vice versa. So these are hereditary. This is hereditary knowledge which is shared by one generation to the other generation. Okay, and this painting is very famous in Andhra Pradesh, Kalankari. As I said, they use some pen-like thing there, and so they take some pen-like thing, and with their bare hands, with the help of that pen, they draw different figures. Okay, it is very famous in Andhra Pradesh, and to be more specific, it is near Kalahasti, Sri Kalahasti, which is very famous. So this was encouraged, or this got name and fame during the times of Vijayanagara rulers. From that time onwards, it was very famous. 8 members ఇక్కడ staff room. So yeah, this was there from the times of Vijayanagara Empire, Vijayanagara rulers, and from that time it was very famous. And generally, what these people do is, as we have discussed in the case of uh, Mithali painting, the Kalankari painting, painters also show the different scenes from Ramayana and Mahabharata. Okay, it is also a decorative art form. There are various patterns, flowers and other things are also shown. So another painting is fard painting. It's a scroll painting. What is a scroll? Do you have any idea? Which can be folded. It will be first, if you see it, it will look like a battle. If you unfold it, then you will see the picture. So, it's done on a cloth. Okay. So actually, this type of painting is a creative one. I would say people for their bread and butter they did different things. So in different parts of India, what people used to do is they used to go to different places and sing songs and earn money. And as I said, a few things cannot be orally explained. So what the people used to do is they used to carry these cloths which are folded, and whatever the story they are telling, or whatever song they are singing, or whatever story they are telling through their songs, there were relevant pictures on those scrolls. So it was easy for them to fold them and carry them along with them to whatever place or to whichever place they go. And whenever they need it, they unfold the scroll and they show those pictures. That's how this art painting has become very famous. And this is mainly found in Rajasthan, Bhilwara district of Rajasthan. Okay, so in this also they not only show the heroic figures, but along with that they also show, as I said, flora and fauna, that is different flowers, different kinds of trees, okay, and animals, birds, all these things. Okay, so this is another kind of painting. Then Varli painting is also very famous. Varli derives its name from people, the people of they who live in a specific place of in Maharashtra. They are a tribe. So those the people of that area, they used to practice this kind of painting. Again, these are also uh, used as decorative paintings. So these paintings are mostly made by women again here in this early painting, ancient case of early painting. They use all the locally available material to draw these pictures and use different geometrical shapes or patterns like squares, triangles, dots. Okay. But these paintings are really, I'd say, rich people. They prefer to buy these, yeah, because they're very simple and attractive, and they use vibrant colors also. So apart from these, we have Kalighat painting, which is very famous from Bengal. Kalighat is actually a place near the Kali temple of Kolkata. So nearby, in the nearby vicinities, these images or these paintings were made. That's why it got the name Kalighat painting. Generally, what they do is they show the images of gods and goddesses, but preferably it is the goddesses pictures, pictures of Lakshmi, Kali. Of course, other gods' pictures are also shown and created, but generally it will be Lakshmi and Kali because the famous goddess in that area is Kali. So the artists of this area, their expression, their style of expression was different from others. That's why it got the name Kalighat painting. Okay, and the market of this Kalighat painting has increased exponentially. And how can I guess? Very simple. The Britishers were ruling, and so they started ruling from Calcutta. First of all, they have Calcutta used to be the capital city of the Britishers in the beginning. Then they have changed it to Delhi, but in the beginning it was Calcutta. Because of that, because of that, this Kalighat painting has become very famous during the British colonial system. So this is another type of system wherein again Hindu gods and goddesses are shown. Students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Today I have net connectivity issues, because of which I couldn't. Once there was an interruption. Okay. So different types of paintings are there. We have discussed Kalankari, Kalighat, Maithili, or Mithali. Now there are some handicrafts also. What is handicraft? Which is a craft which is made with hands. And India from the beginning is famous for handicrafts. I don't know whether you have heard or not, but India is famous for making saris which can be folded and put in a small matchbox. Can you imagine? You cannot put a kerchief in matchbox. It's not possible. Now imagine in a matchbox. That was the skill of the people of this area. Okay, so I'm not talking about only saris or dresses, but creating different things with hands or using primitive instruments like chisel, hammer. Okay, so creating sculptures, art, creating patterns, designs, weaving saris or cloth. It can be anything. So handicrafts are those crafts which are done with hands, bare hands. So Indian handicrafts are really famous. I'll narrate you a small simple story. It is not a story, but it has happened actually. And somewhere around in 1850s or 1860s, this has happened in England. By that time, uh, yeah, this what should I say? Industrialization has not come, but trade was there between India and England, and Indian handicrafts, especially the Indian woven cloth, was very famous globally. And before industrialization, these Britishers they couldn't face the competition. Actually, why Europeans have come to India? Because they wanted to, they were desperate to do business with India. That's why they came to India. The reason for coming to India is not to make us civilized, because we were more civilized than them. We were more learned than them. We had more science and technology which was available to us more than them. But again, I don't want to get into the discussion. So the thing is, in 1850s and 60s, a woman in England was found using a kerchief, which was made in, manufactured in uh, India. You know, British authorities have penalized her with 20 pounds. Imagine, even with day, you can use 20 pounds. It is really a good amount. Even if you go to England, you may get a breakfast or something with 20 pounds. Imagine the worth of 20 pound rupees, 20 pounds in 1860s or 1850s. What was the reason that the authorities have mentioned? The reason is using the Indian manufactured kerchief. So they, what I'm trying to tell you is, the English authorities or Western culture, they used to fear that much. With the development or with the quality of the handicrafts of Indians and Chinese, that's why there is a book by Shashi Tharoor wherein he depicted the dark colonial era. He has explained that. So he says there was a village of weavers. British authorities went to that village. They wanted to eliminate the competition which they are facing from Indian weavers. So what they did, they asked them to stand in line, all the weavers, and they have cut their hands. Why? Because even if they destroy their weaving small machines, they'll not stop teaching their children. So they never wanted this knowledge to be passed on to the next generation. So they cut their hands. That's how the people were Britishers were. Okay, let us come back to our original discussion. So handicrafts are really very famous in India from the beginning. Indian artisans are really skillful. Okay, so we have Kashmir shawls, carpets, silk, wooden furniture. Okay, then Rajasthan is famous for its tie and dye, that is bandhani work. If there is any girl student in the class, they will come to know what is bandhani work. Very famous. Then Bidri work, Pochampalli. Like this, there are different even silk sarees. You know that the Congress leader Sonia Gandhi, she wears a sari which is actually prepared in Andhra Pradesh. Pochampalli sarees are sarees of country sarees, Tamil Nadu. Then Chanderi sarees, silk sarees, very famous. Nirmal wooden work is very famous. So there are many things. Pochampalli in uh, Telangana, I think. Okay, so from the beginning, they were famous. Let us discuss few things about these things. Have you ever heard the name Pashmina Shal, Chikari work? Students, are you online? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Can any girl student tell me as to what is this Pashmina Shal or this Chikari work? Okay.
Shikari, I never heard, sir.
Okay, there are different styles. Okay, this is also a style. Pochampalli, Bidri, Chikari, then Bandini work. So people create different patterns, different colors, different styles. Then filigree is a work. Filigree not only used in sculpture, but they also use it in this handicrafts. They create small thread-like thing with silver, and these silver threads are used in saris. You know, gold and thread is also used in saris, not only silk thread. So different styles, different innovative people were there, and they used different colors, different patterns, different prints. So Banaras saris are also very famous. Pochampalli saris are also very famous. When it comes to figures, terracotta figures, Pochampalli, wooden work, Karnataka, wooden work, sandal wooden work, all these are famous. So we cannot say that these are the answer. This is not sorry, exhaustive. This is not the exhaustive list, a complete list of handicrafts, but I'm just giving you information what I know, what I have seen. I have seen Kanchi saris, I have seen Dhanavaram saris, I have seen Pochampalli saris, I have seen Kashmiri shawls, I have seen Pashmina work on shawls. Okay, I have seen the saris with golden thread. I have seen, I don't know what we call it in English, but Telugulo Nara చీరలు అంటారు, which generally Brahmins use at the time of పూజ. మడి అని అంటారు, మీరు ఎవరైనా అదే ఉంటే మడి కట్టుకున్నప్పుడు యాక్చువల్లీ నార చీరలు తోనే పూజ చేయాల్సి ఉంటుంది. సో ఇప్పటికి కూడా నార చీరలు. Okay, all such things are there. So these are different handicrafts, paintings, and different things. Let us discuss about performing arts. What is performing art? Performing arts, for example, you perform something, let us say a drama, dance, singing. You have to perform. So you have to give concerts. For example, you are singing on stage, you are performing, you are acting on stage, you are performing. Dance, performing. So what are the different? dance forms. What are performing arts? Again, in these performing arts also, we can go for various variations or different types of performing arts. Singing. There are many divisions. What is the base that you are taking? Depending on that, you will find different divisions. For example, if I take uh, the Indian music and Western music, it's a division. Indian music and Western music. Again, in Indian music, I can say traditional music or classical music and modern music. Again, in traditional music, I can say North Indian music, South Indian music, or vocal. What I am talking is vocal. Again, we can say in music we have two differences: vocal and instrumental. Again, in vocal we can say Western Indian. Again, in Indian we can say North Indian, South Indian. Again, in Indian we can say classical and modern. In the same way, in instruments also, we can say string instruments and non-string instruments. North Indian, South Indian, Hindustan, Carnatic, classical, modern. Can you name any instrument, string instrument, classical and um, modern? Students,
Yes, sir.
can you name any string instrument, one classical and one modern?
Sitar,
Okay. Veena, sitar, santur, not santur, sarod, violin. Then what is modern string instrument? Guitar, right? So like this, there are many. So yeah. So let us discuss about first drama or performing art. Again, in this dramas or in performing arts, we show the different uh, human emotions. Okay, and these human emotions have some basis. Let us say the basic feelings. Sometimes we are happy, sometimes we are unhappy, or we show some kind of sorrowness. Sometimes we are stunned. Sometimes like this, we have navarasas. So acting is our drama, performing arts are about these navarasas, that means showing different feelings, or different human feelings on their face. Even though one is not happy, one has to show that his or her happiness on her face, that is through their expressions. So we have seen many famous dramatists and many famous writers and many famous dramas. It's not new to us. From the times of Kalidasa, we have different kinds of writings, and these writings, the literature, was performed by different people. Okay, so what is special or what is unique about Indian drama? The unique thing about Western, say, if we compare it with Western, then we'll come to know what is the uniqueness of Indian drama. First of all, in Indian drama, there were no sad endings. If you observe, that's why it's a practice in India still. సినిమా ఎండ్ అయినప్పుడు ఏం పడుతుందండి, శుభం కార్డ్ అని పడుతుంది. ఈ మధ్యన ది ఎండ్ అని వేస్తున్నారు, కానీ ఇంతకుముందు ఎప్పుడు ది ఎండ్ అని వేయకపోయేవాడు. ఇట్ వాజ్ నాట్ అ ప్రాక్టీస్. ఫ్రమ్ ది బిగినింగ్ ఇన్ ఇండియా we say shubham. That means the ending is always good. We don't have unhappy or sorrow endings. That is uniqueness of Indian drama. And many characters uh, which were originally there, based on their what has happened in their lifetime, people have created many dramas. Okay, starting from Ramayana, Mahabharata, many things. And there is this, I'll say, acting or Natya Shastra, performing art, whatever you call it. They are also scientific in India. I'm say they are also developed in a scientific way. For example, this Bharatanatyam, which is very famous, the name itself says that it is a Natya. It's a kind of dance form which is unique or special to Bharat Desh or India, which is compiled, is said to be compiled by Bharata Muni. So these, I would say, the dance form, as I said, is also scientific. How? Because they have developed this in a proper way. That means to show a kind of emotion or a kind of feeling or an animal or a god, we have specific mudras. So if you are in that pose, that shows that, for example, to convey a message without orally, not orally, and say without using words. So for example, if you want to say that there is an animal, let us say that animal is an elephant, then you have a separate mudra in Bharatanatyam. If you are in that pose, then people can, those who learn that, those who know how to read those poses, then they'll say that this is so and so animal. Like that, they used to convey the message. The Bharatanatyam, Natya Shastra, whatever the dance forms are, they are there to convey a message. And these dance forms, unlike Western dance forms, Western dance forms, without using words, you cannot convey. But in Indian dance forms, you can convey a message without using a single word or without uttering a single word from your mouth. That art is developed in such a way. Okay. So these dance forms are also again have become very famous because of kings. Various kings and sages, they have the knowledgeous people have developed this science, and those who are interested and who are rich, they have given their patronage to these kinds of things. And many scholars, learned individuals, they have contributed by writing various dramas or by giving them uh, rules which are to be followed. Okay, so similarly, the Bhakti movement in the medieval era, which we have discussed in previous classes, this Bhakti movement has also helped a lot. Why? Because through Bhakti movement also people wanted to spread their religious beliefs, and to spread their religious beliefs, they have also taken help of not only the words but also these performing arts. Okay, for example, if you go to interviews, people won't check your was it, they won't only check your how you are answering, they also check what is your body language, how you are walking into the room, how you are taking your chair, how you are sitting, how you are answering, while answering, what is your face feelings, how your body postures are, all these things. In the same way, it's a science which is developed long back, uh, how to show something, how to uh, address something, or how to convey an issue through dance without using a single word. So such things are there. Such things are there from the beginning in Indian subcontinent. So in medieval era, again, people have these dance forms have seen a great development. Okay, so some of the kings also have also encouraged them. As I said, they have given their patronage. It's not only just dance forms, but coming to music also. As I said, music can be again divided into different parts based on whether it is Indian or not. If it is Indian, then we call it Indian music. If it is outside, if it is a dance form from outside India, then we can say that it is Western dance form. And within this Indian dance form also, I told you that something is related to North India, something is related to South India. So southern dance forms, for example, Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, these are South Indian dances. And similar type of dances with slight changes in North India. They are Bhangra. Can you name me? Garbha. What is, to which state this Garba belongs to? Friends, I am asking you questions. To which state this Garba belongs to? Okay. Are you online? Just give me attendance.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Then why don't you respond?
Yes, sir.
ఓకే ఉట్టి ఎస్ సార్ అని కాదండి, అడిగిన దానికి ఏదైనా సమాధానం చెప్పండి. ఓకే, అటెండెన్స్ రోల్ కాల్ ప్లీజ్. 61,
Present, sir.
62, 62, 63, 64,
Present, sir.
63.